Hi Huskies, hi Bulldogs. Today we're going to do a little science lesson. We're going to learn about some plants. And what I have here is I have some pictures of some of my favorite plants. Some of these plants are really, really cool. Some of these you've probably seen before. Some of these might be new to you. Now I also have some paper and I have my board because I thought it would be fun to try drawing some of these plants. So I'm going to draw some of them, okay? If you see a plant that you think is really cool, when I hold it up, then you can pause it and you can try drawing that plant with your board and your markers or your paper, okay? Here's the first one, right? Have you ever seen one of those before? Do you know what that's called? It's called a palm tree, or if it has coconuts, it could be a coconut tree, right? I'll race you to the top of the coconut tree. Do you see where does the coconut tree grow? It often grows close to the ocean, right? Sometimes people will put them in their gardens, but usually if you find them in nature, you find them next to the ocean. So this is, if you wanted to draw this plant, you could pause the video right now and you could look at it and try drawing it. All right, I'm gonna put it right here. Now I know something special about coconut trees. Coconut trees, when they grow, I'll draw one right here. Let's see. They grow, I could do a better job than that, but I want to go really fast right now. They grow their coconuts right here, right? And oftentimes it's close to the water. Maybe this is the beach, and here's the water. When the coconuts fall down, sometimes they land in the water. And they stay at the top of the water. They don't go to the bottom, which means they float. And so if the coconut floats, then sometimes the coconut will float and float and float, and it might float to a new place that has another island, right? And you know what that coconut is? That coconut is a really big seed. So what's going to happen? If the coconut floats to another island and it lands over here, it'll grow into another coconut tree. Takes a long time. But that's how coconuts can spread their seeds to new places. They float in the water. Isn't that cool? I think that's really cool. Let's see. Let me turn this around. I'll put some of my plants in here so you guys can keep looking at them while I show you some new ones. How about that one? Do you know what that's called? That's a cactus. If you want to try drawing a cactus, you can pause the video and try drawing a cactus. What do you know about cactuses? I know that cactuses grow in the desert. They grow where there's not very much water. That's what we call a desert. It doesn't rain very much, but the cactuses can still grow. They can grow with only a little bit of water, right? I know that some cactuses, when you touch them, ouch, they poke you. They have little spikes in them. Yeah, I think cactuses are really cool. I also know that cactuses only grow in North America and South America. So if you go to a desert that's in Africa, or a desert that's in Asia, or if you go to a desert that's in Australia, you won't see any cactuses there. What about this one? Have you ever seen this tree before? This is called a baobab tree, right? Sometimes people call it a bottle tree because the trunk, there's the trunk is so wide, it looks like a bottle of water. A baobab tree, right? Those ones are really cool. I don't know very much about baobab trees, but they often grow in a grassland where there's lots of grass and lots of water. And they grow really tall, way taller than all the grass plants down here. Yeah, baobab trees are pretty cool too. Let me see, what else do we have? We have a fern. I think I'll try drawing a fern real quick. Ferns are pretty cool, and ferns always remind me of dinosaurs because when the dinosaur scientists go looking for dinosaur fossils, sometimes they find fern fossils, fossils from the fern plants a long time ago. That means a long time ago, there were lots of ferns living the same times the dinosaurs lived, right? When I draw a fern, I kind of make like a curvy line. And then at the top, there's like a little one. And they get bigger. The leaves get bigger and bigger and bigger. Like that. And then at the bottom, they look pretty big. That's kind of what a fern looks like. And sometimes there's trees. Maybe I should get a brown for my trunk. Sometimes there's big trees that are fern trees. And they go really tall. They have a big brown trunk. And at the top, that's where the leaves grow, the fern leaves. I saw one of those one time in a garden, and I thought it was really cool. Yeah, so that's what I know about ferns. Ferns have been on our earth for a long time. But you know what you'll never see on a fern? A fern plant never makes a flower. Lots of plants make flowers, but not ferns. Ferns have been around a long time, but they don't make any flowers. Plants that make flowers were not really around when the dinosaurs were around. The flower plants came later, right? Here's a flowering plant. I want you to look really close at this one. Look really, really close. I think this one looks kind of like a bug. This is an orchid, right? And the orchid tricks bugs. The orchid looks like a bug, so the bugs will fly up and they'll be like, what? That's not a bug. And then they'll fly away. But when they do that, they get pollen on them. And that helps the orchid plant. So the orchid is a really special kind of flowering plant. And sometimes they look like bugs. There are many different kinds of orchids. They can be all different colors. This one is pink, and I think it's very pretty. I think that would be a fun one to draw. I might try that later. Put the orchid right there. There are so many different kinds of plants in the world. Have you ever seen this plant before? Look, it's growing in the water. Some plants can grow in the water. Some plants can grow under the water. This plant grows under the water and on top of the water. It's floating. It's a lily pad. Do you know any animals that like lily pads? I think frogs like lily pads. I think frogs like to live on lily pads. That would be a fun one to draw. If you've ever drawn, uh-oh, something smells. Something smells really bad. I'm just kidding. But if you really saw one of these, it would smell really bad. This is called a corpse flower. And it's really big. It's like this big. It's like really, really big. It's a huge flower, and it smells terrible. It smells like a dead animal. That's why they call it a corpse flower, right? But since it smells so bad, that means there are lots of bugs that come. Bugs like to go to places where it smells really bad. So when this flower blossoms, when the plant turns into the flower that blossoms like that, people don't like it because it smells so bad. But the bugs will come, and that helps the corpse flower. It's kind of a crazy one, kind of a crazy plant. There are so many different plants in the world. This plant is the biggest plant. This is called a redwood tree. Sometimes people call it a redwood. It can also be called a sequoia tree. The sequoia tree is the biggest plant in the whole world. It is like wider than a house and so tall. I got to go on vacation one time and I got to see the sequoia trees and they were super big. I thought it was really fun. I tried to give it a hug, but I couldn't. It was way too big. I couldn't get my arms anywhere near around it. So that would be a fun plant to draw if you want to draw a sequoia tree, the biggest trees in the world. Let's see, what else do I have? It's wheat. That's a plant that you can find on a farm. Do you see the little wheat seeds? Wait a minute. I read a story called The Little Red Hen. And the little red hen, she grew some wheat. And do you know what she made it into? She made the wheat into bread. We use wheat to make bread. What else do we use wheat for? Pizza crust, and crackers, and cookies, and cake. We use wheat in lots and lots of different foods that we eat. So I think that would be a fun thing to draw too. Wheat is a kind of grass. It grows on the ground, and it doesn't get very tall. It doesn't get tall like a tree. It stays pretty close to the ground. And then when it starts to make these flowers, they don't look like flowers, but these are special wheat flowers. They will turn into seeds, and the seeds are what we eat. Those are the grains on the wheat, the seeds right there, right? So if you want, you can eat those seeds. You can squish them up and make flour, the white flour that you use to bake things. Or you can take those seeds and you can plant them in the ground, and it will grow new wheat plants. Here's some wheat. Let's put the wheat right here. I got one more. I think I want to draw this one. This one's really, really crazy. Has anyone ever seen this plant before? This is called a Venus flytrap. Why do you think it's called a Venus flytrap? It's called that because it traps flies. This is a plant that eats things. This is a carnivore. Can you believe that? Did you know that there are some plants that eat animals? They don't eat big animals, but they can eat little animals like flies and other bugs. I'm going to try drawing a Venus flytrap because that is one of the coolest plants if you ask me. All right? So let's see. I've got to draw. I'm going to get green. Most plants are green. I'm going to get some green. And I'm going to draw. You can see it looks like there's a thing like this. And I see these little spikes right here on both sides. That looks like the little spike. Looks like that. And I see there's a stem down here. This looks like it's connected to the stem. I don't see any leaves on this plant, so I'm not going to draw any leaves. I'm going to draw the spikes. And then I see in the middle, I see it looks red. There's red stuff in the middle. So I would color that red. I'm going to finish it later, okay? I'm going to keep coloring that red part in the middle right there. And then I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a bug. I'm going to draw an ant. And this ant is going inside the flower. It's going inside of this Venus flytrap because on the inside, it tastes good. So this Venus flytrap can trap bugs because it has stuff in there that tastes good. All right? Let's pretend. Do it with me. Pretend that you're a Venus flytrap. And when there's a bug that comes inside of your trap, you close it up and you trap the bug. Isn't that crazy? Did you know that there are plants that can eat bugs? I think that's really, really cool. You know, I think that there are lots and lots of cool animals in the world that we learn about, but sometimes I forget that there's also lots and lots of cool plants in the world, right? I hope you had fun learning about some of my favorite plants. And if you want to draw some, you can pause the video. You can go back and pause the video and try drawing some. All right? I think that's a fun thing to do too. Thanks for playing with me, Huskies and Bulldogs, and I'll talk to you all soon.